Well, hello everybody. How are you? Welcome to this OCD or OCCC.
Well, hello everybody. How are you?
Oh, I have to mute
Welcome to
myself
this
on the
OCD
Facebook.
or OCCC. Everybody,
There we go.
oh, I have to mute.
There we go. Done. Little technicality here, and that gets my OCD really going. Another thing that gets my OCD going today is that I've been up creating a lot of things tonight. I was up, well, most of the night, and the fact that I didn't have time to shave when I woke up this morning and shave my head and shave my beard and all of this, making me look like a scruff is not really, I don't know how to put it. You know what I mean? When you're OCD, even if you don't have a diagnosis, and there's always some little detail or big detail to you, massive detail to you, that really bothers you. And so what happens when we're being OCD and we are paying attention, and actually it's a superpower. You know, if you're OCD, it's a superpower because you see the details. You become a perfectionist, and hopefully you don't use it to your disadvantage. You can use it to your advantage for all your creations and creating your life and really making sure that things go the way that you'd like them to go, and they run with total ease, joy, and glory. Now, let's go to the OCCC, so the Obsessive Compulsive Creator of Crap. Oh, look, I have these two zebra ears sticking out of my head now, and that's quite funny. Anyway, that's something else. That's not OCD, that's something else. But when you're being OCCC, so an obsessive compulsive creator of crap, is when you go through, and it tends to be phases of creating one thing after the other that are really kind of destroying your life, maybe, and if not to that degree, they don't really work for you. And it's like creating money problems, creating relationship problems, creating whatever problems it is, creating problems in general. And you notice how you create one, and then you create more and more and more, and you tend to go down in this downward going spiral of more crap that you're creating. First of all, stop right there. Don't blame yourself, don't judge yourself, because otherwise you'll just go deeper and deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And you don't want to do that, trust me. I go there quite often, and well, actually less and less these days, and I'm grateful for myself for that. The thing is that when you notice yourself going down that hole, try and stop. First of all, breathe, relax, barriers down, be vulnerable, and acknowledge that you have just created all the crap that you say is happening to you in your life. In actual fact, nothing happens to you in your life. You create everything. When you realize, when you acknowledge that you create every single part of your life, then you might also acknowledge how potent a creator you actually are. And being such a potent creator that you manage to create debt, massive relationship problems, health problems, and whatever problems it is that you're creating, if you acknowledge that you are creating it, then maybe you might have some other choice available. In actual fact, you always have choice available. The thing that, well, the first time that I actually realized this was when I discovered Access Consciousness. The very first day that I discovered Access Consciousness. My journey is a little bit is interesting in that way that actually I was diagnosed not with OCD. I should have been diagnosed with OCCC already at birth. No, actually I started later on in life. So yeah, in my teens I should have been diagnosed with that. Bad shrinks, bad shrinks. They don't see this. What the fuck? Anyhow, so I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is another conversation, so we're not going to go there. I actually rather call it like multipolar capacities. That's something else. But the thing that I realized in that period when I had just created my first divorce, I had created massive debts, and I had created losing all of my commercial photography clients. I had created one of what I thought was my best friends actually stealing all the money from one of my companies and leaving me with these huge debts, and also going from being rather wealthy to being absolutely fucking broke out in the street and actually homeless for 24 hours. And all of this happened within 2 weeks. Yeah. When I told this to my first access facilitator, wonderful friend called Nu Södergren, sorry. She just looked at me. She said, "Wow, you're kind of potent, aren't you?" I was like, "What are you talking about? I just destroyed my life. You're telling me I'm potent? No, I'm not. I'm just creating crap." He said, "Yeah, you're actually creating. You just said it. You're creating crap. So can you acknowledge how you created all this?" And I was in reaction of this, and I was saying, "But why would I want to create this divorce?" And she said, "Well, first of all, let me ask you a question. Are your wife and you kind to each other?" I was like, "Well, no, we're not at all." And we went down that way, and she kept on asking me questions around the marriage. And I had the point of view that I didn't want the divorce because it would be bad for my son Luca. And when she asked me the question, she asked me not to go in my head when I looked at these questions, but to actually say the first thing that came out of my mouth, which is actually using my knowing, my true knowing, and not my brain, not my head, not my mind, basically. And what came out of my mouth then was, "Well, yes, my son is actually going to be way happier," and that's actually what it was. So I said, "Okay, fine, I get it with the divorce, but why would I want to destroy my all my money flows? I had 5 companies at the time and successful ones at that, and they just went belly up, and 3 of them went belly up out of 5." And I was like, "Why this?" And she said, "Well, look at the companies one by one, the ones that are going bankrupt. So the first one, are you actually done with that company?" And that was my model agency that I used to have. I said, "Well, God, yeah, I'm totally done with that. I hate that business. I started that agency to create something different on the planet, and it turned out to be totally the opposite, and I can't change that particular type of business. So I'm done with it." And so on and so forth. And I realized that, finally, actually realized that, yes, I had created everything, including the debt, including being homeless for 24 hours, including all of these things, in order to erase what from the outside looked like a really successful life that for me actually sucked. It did not work. I was this successful fashion photographer that had a model agency, there was a TV producer, and blah, 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 blah. And I was so fucking miserable. And I just basically hated my life. So now I see that I've created all that to just put everything down to zero and create it from scratch. From the point that I realized that, I actually started creating my life with conscious choices and being aware of what I was actually creating. And I realize now, and I have another call coming up soon about this, of how every second of our lives we make choices in one way or another, even if we don't acknowledge them as being choices. When we acknowledge them as being choices, maybe we can make those choices in a more conscious way. And one question that came up for me quite recently, actually, since I've been together with my wonderful girlfriend Julia, and one day we were having a conversation, and I asked her, "So, what future are you trying to create?" And I asked myself that question at the same time. And I realized how powerful that question was, or is rather, because when you ask yourself that question, and if you're present enough to ask yourself that question every time you make a choice, big or small, and you have a quick look at the future, you just tap into the energy of the future you're trying to create, and you see how a certain choice, they might seem futile, they might seem irrelevant or whatever, could actually change completely the future that you're trying to create, that you desire to create. So that's quite a cool tool to actually use. So when you're going down the rabbit hole of being OCCC, an obsessive compulsive creator of crap, try and ask yourself that question. So what am I actually trying to create with this? And you might go in reaction of yourself because you might tend to go where I go is like, but I'm not creating this. This is just happening. This is just bullshit. Stop, breathe, realize that's not even yours. So ask who does it belong to? First of all, return to sender with consciousness attached and ask the question, what future am I trying to, do I desire to create? And does this choice, does this energy, does me being in this energy, the choice of being in this energy actually contribute to the future that I'm trying to create, or does it destroy it? So let's see if, there's no live participants in here. I don't know who is on the Facebook Live. I can't see it from here, but Julia's live. Hi, darling. Hello. There is someone else. I don't know. I can't see them. But because I would have liked some questions in this. Because
I have a question.
Yes, Julia.
So my question is, you started to create in your life really early as a creator, as a photographer. Did you acknowledge the power of creation that you have?
Thank you for that question. No, I did not. I did not. So if you didn't hear Yulia's question, her question was that I started creating at a very young age. I became a photographer at the age of 16 already, and working as a photographer at the age of 9. Well, as an assistant at the age of 16 already, but then as a photographer at the age of 19. And Yulia asked me if I acknowledged the fact that I was a potent creator already then, and I never thought about that. But no, I didn't. I did not acknowledge that. For me, it was. I mean, my story started with what other people thought was me creating crap, i.e. my brother, my sister, and my parents, and everybody around me. And I was one of the first punks in London, and I was having a lot of fun with that, and I was bored with school. School was really not working for me. And so I was disappearing from home 2 weeks at a time. You know, I started playing with bands, with punk bands early on, even though I didn't know how to play an instrument, but I wanted to do it. So I got a drum kit and started playing. I wanted to sing, I started singing. I wanted to play guitar, I got a guitar. And I don't know how to play the instruments, but with the drums, I actually recorded records. I was actually in the charts, believe it or not. Wow. And so I was having fun. I was enjoying my life. I was not thinking of this as creation. I was just seeing this as me being completely crazy, completely fucked up, and being a pain in the ass to everybody around me, but actually choosing what was fun for me. And it was so much fun.
So creation is fun.
Creation is totally fun.
And it doesn't matter what you create.
It doesn't matter what you create. Exactly, because thank you for that one. You just said, it doesn't matter what you create, even if you create crap, it's fun. And yes, if you acknowledge that you're creating crap, then you can actually see what's fun about this. And one great question to ask when you go in the crunch of things and you're creating crap is like, again, stop. And one of these questions is, what's funny about this that I'm not laughing at? You might go in total reaction of it, but you keep on asking it, you see how a little smile starts coming from the edge of your mouth, and you actually start enjoying it. And yes, creation is fun in one way or another, yes.
How does it happen that the most beautiful creators, they often go into judgment of themselves?
Wow, how come the most beautiful creators actually go in judgment of themselves? Wow, I don't know where I'm going with this. But I used to have a model agency, and we had this conversation a couple of days ago. And my most beautiful models, the most successful ones, the ones that are earning shitloads of money, they were on magazine covers and whatever, they were always coming to me with this massive problem, always the same, saying, hey, this is not my business. I don't know what I'm doing here. You people are nuts. I am not good looking at all. I'm ugly. I've always been the ugly duckling. I'm stupid. What am I doing here? Why are people paying me money for this? I'm just like, relax, enjoy, just have fun. Don't look at, to the models I was saying, if you want to stop, stop. But look at what you're actually creating. You're traveling the world. You're getting paid to travel the world, and you're getting paid to do something that is fun. And yes, there's a lot of parts of the business that are total shit, but you're actually creating a future, and you know that this is a short career of maybe 4, 5, maximum 10 years if you're lucky. So get the money in, enjoy, learn a new trade, because a lot of successful models became photographers, makeup artists, designers, whatever. So they actually, created something else with that. They used their modeling career to create something else, and not for the modeling itself, because that is something else. That's another conversation. But they could not acknowledge their own beauty, which was part of their power of creation as well with their modeling. And I really don't know. And I mean, I have a lot of friends who are artists, and sometimes we tell ourselves when we've done something great, like, "Oh, fuck, I'm brilliant," And I used to actually say it out loud as, what I thought was part of a joke that was not really a joke. But when I moved to Sweden, I heard a lot like, "You can't say that. You can't do that. You can't say that you're brilliant."
Like in Japan, it's
Yeah.
not allowed to say
No.
that you're good at something.
No, absolutely not. You cannot acknowledge your greatness. You cannot acknowledge your capacities. So it's got something to do with that, and I don't have an answer for you. And I did this video actually that is on my YouTube channel of how we creatives tend to judge ourselves so much. We are our worst critics, and not in a constructive way.
So can it be the sign that if you judge yourself, you're actually a potent creator?
Aha! Brilliance there. Yes. If you start judging yourself a lot, try and ask yourself a question coming from Julia. So, truth, am I actually a brilliant creator? And what am I judging about this? And also have the knowledge that every judgment that you have of you or anything else or anyone else, judgment destroys what you're trying to create. The thing that actually contributes to what you're trying to create and desire to create is gratitude. Gratitude and judgment can never coexist. Which wolf do you choose to feed?
You talk about it a lot in the
Yes.
Undefining Beauty class. And it's
Yes, I do. Yeah, I talked a lot about it in the Undefining Beauty class that for me started as a class for mainly photographers and people in front of the camera, i.e. models and influencers. And actually, if you look at how photography is used today, it's actually everybody, because everybody uses photography in one way or another, or at least 99.9% of the world population. And what is being created with photography and video, it's included in that, is judgment. So photography is being used as a weapon of judgment, whereas it can actually be used as a tool of infinite possibilities using gratitude. And I realized that this conversation about judgment and gratitude is not just on the level of what we see, i.e., first of all, ourselves, and how we try and fit into small little boxes of this reality, but it actually applies to everything, every single area of our lives. Judgment about relationships, judgment about color of our skin, judgment about the world situation now, judgment about your money situation, judgment about everything. And if you can turn that judgment into gratitude, you'll see how things start shifting for you. And as Yulia just said, that's part of the Undefining Beauty class. So if you're interested in this topic, please join me. I have quite a few coming up very soon. And it's a topic for me that is just getting greater and greater and greater. And we get to so many different levels of this, of where we create judgment and where we could actually be creating, choosing gratitude rather, and create something different on the planet. Yes. Thank you, my love.
What are you creating now in your life?
Wow, what am I creating now in my life? I'm on fire. That's what I'm creating in my life right now. I'm on fire. Thank you for that question, because until a week ago, more or less, I came to Mexico and I started creating a lot of crap on the flight to Mexico. Listen to this is brilliant. I mean, the scenography, the whole script, the thing is brilliant. I'm acknowledging right now, and please do the same, that I am the movie star, the director, the producer producer, the editor, the set designer, all of these massive important roles of a movie, a great movie called My Life. You know what? You're the same. So how much do you want to script this life of yours? How much of a fantastic experience and adventure do you want to have on planet Earth while you're in your sweet, sweet body? So I was on a flight, long flight from Madrid to Mexico City. And I had these huge pains on my side. I mean, so huge I could not breathe. I was screaming, and it happened on the flight. So I asked for a doctor. You know, when I was asking for the doctor, in my deepest pain, this is how crazy and fucked up I am. I was going to all these movies, especially bad movies, where somebody's feeling sick on the plane and they say, "Is there a doctor on board?" And that's exactly what happened. In my movie, it was actually happening. And guess what happened? First, there's this older gentleman doctor that comes up and he starts asking me questions and whatever. And then these four really good looking young ladies, doctors, pushed the old man away and said, "We're in charge here." And they took charge. And the whole plane that could actually see this, they were all staring, going, "What the fuck is going on?" You know, just think of the casting, the scenography, the location. So anyway, I end up in the what is it called? The sort of kitchen, the galley. And is it called the galley? I think it's the galley. And they make a homemade intravenous thing here to give me really strong painkillers, basically morphine on a flight. I'm being fed morphine intravenously on a flight by four beautiful young ladies that are doctors. I mean, movie or what? It's not finished. They go back to their seats and I'm there, and they remove the intravenous thing after 45 minutes or more. And I return to my seat, but I still have this thing in my veins, and there's a little cap so that, you know, the blood stays in my body and doesn't spurt out. So I get in my seat, I get the blanket over me, and as I put the blanket on, the blanket touches the little, one of the caps of the needle, and there's blood spurting everywhere. I mean, everywhere. So I'm calm and I put a finger over it, but it's not really covering it all. And I'm going back to the galley and I'm talking to the stewardess, asking to call the doctors again. And she's asking me something. So I remove the hand from the tap and there's blood going like gushing everywhere. And I'm going like, fuck, this is a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's fucking brilliant. There's blood everywhere. It's just the violence missing. And so after that, I came to Mexico. I thought I was going to be in some wonderful classes, and one of them I mainly participated online rather than live. The only day that I was live was actually in super pain, and well, that's another story. But then I had surgery done here in Mexico. So, you know, eliminated any possibility of income with my photo sessions and whatever. And I really believed this thing that, you know, what's happening to me? And I was actually asking the question, what am I creating with this? But I wasn't really acknowledging that it was my creation. It was still this energy of, you know, being the victim. And I created, you know, money problems. I created massive health problems because after the operation, after the surgery, I got another complication and blah, blah, blah. Until I actually chose one day, like, no, and I can't remember which day it was. Maybe you remember, babes, but I don't. But it was one day when I was like, okay, I'm bored with this now. So what do I choose to create now? And the first choice that I made was actually to be happy. Yes, you heard that right. Happiness is just a choice. And so I chose to be happy. And it doesn't mean choosing to be happy doesn't mean to put your head under the sand. Every energy that you're being, you actually can choose either to be in that energy or change it if it doesn't work for you. And it's just small steps at a time of actually this thing that I was talking about before, that I do talk about a lot in Undefining Beauty, of turning the judgments into gratitude. And I think I remember what it was. I was judging some male friends for something, and then early from when I woke up that morning, and then I got this message from a friend that was actually gifting me money for no reason, just to be kind to me. And I started crying tears of joy and gratitude. And I was like, oh my God, and not judging myself for judging. Because that's another spiral that we tend to go downwards in, is that when we catch ourselves being judgmental, we actually start judging that. And you see how that spiral keeps going deeper and deeper. And so it is, I've given you a few little tools here of how to get out of OCCC and becoming OCD, but a magnificent, potent creator that you are with your OCD, and have fun with that. So please use these tools. And I have another call next week on the 30th of March. And then there are Undefining Beauty classes coming up. I'm choosing to do more of these free Zooms and lives, Facebook lives and whatever. So keep following me if you enjoy this, and please reach out to me. I always answer anybody that writes to me in social media. I'd love to hear from you, and if I can contribute to you and your life and your living and creating your life, I'm here. I have your back. And so other things that I'm creating right now is Julia, who's Julia? Julia. Well, also you, and in Rome, probably everybody will call you Julia anyway. So that's probably where I'm picking it up. You, Julia.
Yeah.
Doña Julia. Doña Julia la Mexicana. So we're going to Rome on Monday, and we're creating a lot of classes in Rome, in Russia. We got Russia, so I've been so excited. I've never been to St. Petersburg, and it's supposed to be one of the most beautiful cities on the planet, and I can't wait to be there. And then we're creating also classes in Istanbul. We're creating some things, and that's not quite clear yet how, when, if, and whatever, but Bali and Dubai at some point for sure. We don't know exactly when or what. But Istanbul is actually being created. If you go on my website, there's already some things coming up there. And Russia definitely there is boiling like crazy. And there's photo sessions, there's classes with you on my own. With you, I'm talking to you here, right here. And also I'm creating a TV show that has been in creation for a while, and I'm choosing to actually go to the next step. And I've had, actually, Yulia doesn't know about this because she was sleeping when I was creating during the night. I've been in touch with some friends, and yes, there could be some news. So yes, I have a lot of things. I have a lot of projects. I don't know how many. Quite a few. So I hope to see you very soon live, I mean in person, and have a coffee with you or a chat, or why don't you join me in one of my classes or take a photo session with me. It's not just pictures, it's something else. Anyhow, thank you so much. I adore you. Or do you have more questions, my love? No more questions. Okay. So look at me with my zebra ears. I'm going to say goodbye to you with my zebra ears on and putting on my happiest happy in that frame. Hola, being totally OCD. I love it. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, wherever you are in the world. I adore you. Mwah! Bye-bye.